Because the cold hard truth of this video is, if you had a guy who was just perfect before this quarantine hit, and if during this time he is not meeting you halfway, if he is not texting you, if he is not calling you, say at least every 3 or 4 days max, he is not that into you. So if you clicked on this video, I'm gonna assume you met someone special. You clicked. You have that spark between you. And hey, maybe it was a classmate, a coworker, things were going all dandy until, well, shit hit the fan and now we're all prisoners in our homes just until next month. Lies. Now you may be thinking, it's alright, you know, we have something strong. In a time where everybody is on their phone, on their laptop, where technology is that getaway from all of this, if he is not reaching out to you in one way or another half of the week, then he is not that into you. And what's even worse is he may have even moved on to somebody else. And hey, if you are in a relationship, situationship, where it is an equal giving of effort, 50-50 on both of your sides, then good for you, girl. Like, good. And I hope that your relationship becomes this beautiful inspiration for the rest of us. I'd also like to insert, if you are anything like me where you don't necessarily need to talk to a guy every day, like maybe you're fine and you're just totally secure in yourself and you trust that what you have is what it is, you might be giving him a little too much of the benefit of the doubt. Oh, he's just busy. Oh, he's just not a texter. Girl, nobody is too busy during this period of time unless he legitimately is struggling with family and stuff because of the pandemic. I mean, that makes more sense. But in most cases, nobody is too busy to talk to the person that they really like or love during this time. It doesn't matter if he told you how much he felt for you. It doesn't matter how strongly he expressed his feelings for you the last time you met. If during this quarantine, these weeks of separation where the only thing that can really connect you to is text, is call, technology, if he is not reaching out, girl, you need to count your losses now and go that way. As a wise person has said, don't make excuses for someone who isn't even making excuses for themselves. I think that reaching out first is fine in my books. I mean, some people are like, only let the guy make the first move. I've always been the type of person who is fine breaking the ice. So yeah, I think that if you've reached out to him first, that's fine. And even in the case that you decided to reach out to him a second time because you're really itching to talk to him, sure, it's whatever. He may have liked or loved you in the moment when you were together, but you deserve someone who doesn't only love you when it's convenient. If you know in your heart of hearts that you're a good person with a lot to offer, then why are you settling for crumbs when, girl, you deserve the buffet? Alright, and maybe now you finally get it and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I had a feeling. Alright, how do I not get my heart broken at this point? Or maybe you're not entirely ready to let this guy know, but either way, I think these next tips will be beneficial in either case, especially if you are now trying to prevent your heart from getting broken. So my tip number 1 is, I think in life, and not just in love, I think it's super important that we just allow ourselves to feel our feelings. Now, even though this may be a getting over him video, I feel like it's important to bask in the good stuff, you know? Even if he may turn out to be a douche, I think it's important that if you feel good, to lean into that. Being in love is a great high. You know, there's a reason why people get addicted to love. It feels good. So I feel like if you have that in your system, that you should just express it, dive deep into it, feel, you know, if you're gonna dump this guy in your mind, you might as well get something good out of it. So yeah, just bask in those feelings. I think that's super duper key. So you should start with that first. Now, of course, where there are the highs, there are also the lows. So if and when the opposite feelings start to come in, I highly recommend you to also embrace them as much as you embrace the good. I feel like the reason why we don't completely get over people is because we don't allow ourselves to really purge out that hurt, purge out that anger in association to that relationship. I strongly recommend, if you feel like crying, if you're at a point where you're just so fed up, maybe you're mad at him, or maybe you're even madder at yourself. Maybe you're so mad at yourself that you broke your own boundaries and now you just feel shitty about yourself. Whatever it is, whether that's anger towards him or anger towards yourself because you're the one who always loves more, I think it is key to just let it all out and cry. Now, if there is a side of you that doesn't want to cry because I ain't giving him my tears, girl, you are crying not for him, but for yourself. There are so many benefits to crying. It is a release. There is a reason why we humans are allowed to cry. So let it out. Do it for yourself. You're not doing this for him. You are mainly doing this for you. And in all of this letting out of emotions, I think it's also very key. If you've realized that a bulk of this sadness is just sadness for yourself, I think that it's important to really try to forgive yourself in the process as well. I think a lot of us are very hard on ourselves for thinking, it's me again, I should have known better. But we are only human and we are going to make mistakes. I think the important thing is that we learn from them. And if you are someone who made a risk again when it came to love, then you should be proud of yourself no matter how it ended. Because I think a lot of people these days shut themselves off completely from feeling. And if you were brave enough to be vulnerable, it did come with the good stuff. And sometimes things don't work out, but I think if you really are trying and you have some bumps along the way, I think you are definitely way more closer than someone who isn't even trying to find love. So yeah, this tip is all about riding the wave of your emotions, the good and the bad. Tip number 2. So once you've come to a point of neutrality, and this could take a while, for some people who have been doing a lot of inner work, that whole purging process may be as short as a week or 2. But if you haven't done a lot of inner work, perhaps this grieving process might take a month. It really depends on you, and again, self-awareness is key. Now, it's time to refocus onto other things. So if you are fortunate enough during this whole time that you're not really worried about where your next meal will come from, financially you're doing okay, I think that this is the perfect time to really reinvent yourself, to really dive into all the things that interest you. Whether that is a couple shows on Netflix that you've always wanted to watch, maybe you can finally start reading some of those books on your never-ending growing to read bookshelf. Deepen your relationships with the people who matter most. One thing that I really found great during this quarantine is just calling some friends from across the world and drinking while having a video call. Immerse yourself in a new skill. Dive deep into an interesting subject that you've always wanted to learn more about. Start a business that you've always wanted to do, or if you have a current business right now, double down on that. Like, this is the time. Just keep yourself distracted, keep yourself busy, invest in yourself as a person. Because the point is, there's so much that we can be improving in our lives outside of our love lives. I think one of the key foundations to a great relationship is already loving the life that you have. So yeah, if you don't have someone, or if you've realized because of this video that you can do better, reinvent yourself to a woman or man, if you're watching, who never settles for less. And last but not least, which is super key in all of this, I think as you're rebuilding yourself, tip number 3, also work on realizing your worth. Now you may be thinking, what worth? I actually liked myself when I was with him. And I get it. It is really hard when you feel like with this person you light up, with this person you feel like you can just be yourself, authentically who you are, and there's someone who gets you and appreciates you. I know how great that feels. But as I was picking up the pieces, one quote that my friend shared to me, which I think is worth reflecting on, is this.
When you are in a relationship thinking the other person was magical because of how you felt, then you realize it was you the whole time. When you allow yourself to be in love with another, What you are feeling is actually the energy of your own love.
So some food for thought. He may not actually be the reason why you liked yourself so much. I'm a firm believer that a lot of the things that happen to us are a reflection of what we project out. So perhaps if you think back on it, maybe when you were with him, you were actually doing something different from what you usually do. Maybe with him, you decided to let your guard down, and it is because you did something different that the real you now had room to shine. Perhaps him giving you that love you don't feel from others is just a reflection. When you let your guard down, it's just what naturally happens to anyone who comes across your way. But I think what's worth realizing is, if you chose to let that out again, I'm sure he's one of many people who would appreciate and love you for who you are. So yeah, those are my 3 main tips. I really do hope that they help you in the same way that they helped me. I will say that working on my sense of self-worth really was a journey that I was already on even before I had to apply these 3 tips. So one thing I will say to someone who may not be going through this kind of situation is to constantly be working on your sense of self-worth, because it'll really come in handy when you go through this. And honestly, I think it's because I had months, if not years, of working on my self-worth that it really made these tips really easy breezy for me. Now, I think the proof really is in the pudding. And so after having applied these 3 tips, when the day came that Mr. Perfect, the guy who said all the right things, who did all the right things, when the day came that I found out that he had actually replaced me, I was unfazed. I was really okay. Like, if you knew me a couple years ago, my love life mantra was from Jess from New Girl, where she said, I always love more. That's my thing. But I think this time around was that I learned to love and value myself way more than my love for him. And that is it, my babes. If you found any value in this video, if you realize anything, please do let me know in the comments below and leave me a like. If you want to see more content like this, I will be making 1, if not 2 videos every week, so please do subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.